All right, here we are live. Lindsay's gonna hold the camera for me. I'm in the conference room. Day 16, and we're talking about HTML and CSS development, and then we're gonna go a lot more into hiring a programmer and some ins and outs for that. So, turn this around, here we go. Okay, so welcome everybody that's new watching these Software Secrets videos. We really appreciate you watching. Go back and watch all the other ones if you haven't seen them, because we are on step 11 today, which is HTML and CSS development. Yesterday we talked about how to hire a programmer, developer, software engineer, whatever you want to call it. This video I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of hiring a programmer and the importance of getting the right people on the bus. But first we're going to focus on HTML and CSS development. So yesterday on the podcast we talked about this, and it's coming out this Friday. Okay, so you're going to want to subscribe to the podcast. So to do that, go to softwaresecretspodcast.com, click on whatever you use. We got iTunes, we got Google Play, we got Stitcher, and you can play them right there on that page as well. So in the podcast that's going to go live tomorrow, probably tomorrow or Monday, whenever it gets out there, we talked about HTML and CSS development, and I came up with kind of an explanation off the top of my head that I like, that I'll share with you guys on these live videos. So step 9, we talked about designing the pages. So your designer is going to wireframe out all the pages, and you're going to now get it to an HTML CSS developer. This can also be called a front-end developer. We call it an HTML CSS developer, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I want to explain what HTML and CSS is. So think of the design as 2D. Okay, so 2D, you've got your Photoshop design that you got from your developer. So they designed out your login page or your forgot password page or your dashboard page, and you got all these wireframed pages designed out, ready to get built into HTML and CSS. So think of the design as 2D. It's flat. You can't do anything with it. You can't click on it. It's not built for the web. Okay? So to get it to the next step, which is step 11, you need an HTML CSS front-end developer that you're going to hire. This person is not going to be full-time working with you forever necessarily. He or she's going to be working with you until you get all these pages built into HTML and CSS and responsive, meaning it looks really good on a mobile device, or not iPad, but a tablet. So now that step turns it into 3D. Okay, so that's the HTML CSS, and now you've got things that you can click on. You got your navigation, you can start clicking on these things. So this is 3D. Now when you click on something and you've got these hover things and it looks all pretty, and you've gone from the design to HTML and CSS, and it looks good on an iPhone or an Android phone or whatever, you can do things, but it doesn't do anything yet. That's the next step when you hire your actual programmer. That's I guess you call it the back-end programmer, where they're actually developing into a language and they're developing the functionality. Now this is a very different person, and you have to know when you're posting these jobs for these people to bid on, and you're getting these people in, you have to know the language. So you're looking for a developer that can develop in a couple different languages. So some of those languages are PHP, Ruby. It's called Ruby on Rails or Ruby. You've got Java, which we learned about today, that we actually need a Java developer for one of our tools in Software Funnels. We didn't realize that. So PHP, Ruby, Java. You got JavaScript, and you got Go, you got a bunch of other ones. These are some of the main ones for online applications. So now, what you're probably going to want to focus on is we've built 99% of our software products in PHP. More than likely, your product can be developed in PHP. Also, Ruby developers cost a little bit more and they're harder to find. PHP developers cost less and are easier to find. So when you're probably going to be looking for a PHP developer. So now I'm getting back into the how to hire a programmer, but it's all going to tie together here in a second. So more than likely you're going to look for a PHP developer. So if you're posting this to Upwork, you're going to want to say, hey, I'm looking for a PHP developer, and usually a PHP developer also knows JavaScript. So I need a PHP and JavaScript developer to build out this program. I've got all these wireframes. Now you start showing them the wireframes once you've hired that person. But first, remember to give them a project. You're giving 3 to 6 developers projects to see how good they are and if they follow your instructions. So now this programmer developer, hopefully we can see that. I got the TV kind of in the way. Now this is 4D. This is when everything becomes, functional. These programmers now can take all this that's built in HTML and develop it to work and be functional, so that the user actually can do things. So that's, to me, the 4D model, and this is the last one. And so that's what the picture I'm painting here is it goes from 2D to 3D to now 4D, where it's 4-dimensional, where it's functional, that you can use it now. Okay, so this is a designer. So going back to step 8, hire a graphics designer. So these are the people you need on your team. This is a front end HTML CSS developer. Okay, so this is the second person on your team, and now you get to this step, which is step 12 is hosting and servers, but after that is when you start developing. So that's really step 13 and beyond, right? So this is your back-end developer or senior developer. And again, this person is different than an HTML CSS developer. So you need to be very specific when you are moving through these steps. Okay, you're not going to have a designer program all your stuff. You're not going to have even a front-end developer do any of this programming. Generally, these front-end developers are not good programmers. So just keep that in mind. Every once in a while you'll get lucky and they can do both, but we've never been able to find one that can do both. So this is kind of where we got, once you've got your HTML and CSS, now you hire this senior developer, and we generally hire 2 developers when we start a project. Now with software funnels, we're finding today we're going to have a meeting and we actually need 3 devs, because we just found out that one of the softwares or tools, open source tools that we're going to be using for software funnels is all coded in Java. So we need a 3rd developer, which is fine. I mean, it's a decision that we're going to have to make today. So hiring, here's the key. If you follow these steps that we have laid out, that I've been talking about these last 12 days almost now when I started the steps, if you go through these steps exactly like we have taught, then hiring a good developer is going to be easy, okay? Because at this point, if you lay things out for them and you've wireframed and created all these pages into HTML, if you find a decent developer that knows how to develop, you're going to make their job so much easier, and they're going to love you. You're going to be their best client they ever had, because you're laying it out for them exactly how you want it to work. And so once you get this HTML, now you can just start taking screenshots and saying, hey, look, developer, I need this to do this, and I need this to do this, and you just start going and you start making projects for them and tasks. And if you get a developer that can have all of this, most developers just want to get into it and code. They're not creative, and that's just the honest truth. And so they just want to get in and start coding. So once you find somebody that follows instructions and just gets things done quick, you've probably got a decent developer. So bring them on, show them what the functionality is, and you're off to the races. So really, if you follow these steps, hiring a developer shouldn't be that hard. So again, if you watch yesterday's video, I went into the places where you can go and find one. I talked about Upwork.com, I talked about Blitz.com. I think those were the two main ones. There's also the freelance and the Guru.com and the outsource.com, right? We'll just make it easy for you. Just use Upwork, okay? Upwork.com. And if you want a big team here in the States, then Blitz.com. You're going to pay a premium on that though, so just be aware of that. So that's it for today's video. Hopefully these last 2 days have helped you understand the process of getting developers, the different kind of developers, different kind of languages. And tomorrow we're going to talk about step 12, hosting and servers. So thanks everybody.